This episode is brought to you by HASA. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the Bottom Feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to go over some good reasons why you would want to get into the pool service industry. Also, some aspects that you should utilize of being a pool pro that you may not be utilizing or even thinking about doing. So I'm going to go over both of these in this podcast. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support. For me, I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. I find it interesting how many pool pros take pool service as like a regular job. You don't really see the benefits that are inherent in having your own business, specifically having a pool service business where you have steady income with your recurring service accounts. This is a little unusual in the service industry. Besides landscapers or gardeners, if you're a plumber, electrician, or HVAC, you don't really have regular service clients. Granted, you can do some, maintenance service calls, scheduling those, every 3 months. And I guess pest control would be similar to pool service where you have monthly service clients as well. Also, house cleaners have a set schedule most of the time. Sometimes they don't as well. So it's one of those things where with the pool service industry, you have a set amount of income and a set amount of weekly service accounts. So you have built-in work and income that you don't really have to go out and get once you're established, that is. Now, of course, getting established takes some effort. It takes a lot of you going out there and really trying to get accounts and getting those service accounts. But once you have your weekly service accounts built up, you have the steady income that you can count on. Now, you have to factor in some late payments and non-payments, maybe 5% of that, but you can easily balance your budget every month. And this is a pretty unique thing in any kind of business. If you have a restaurant or any other kind of business, car wash, you really can't set your monthly amount regularly. You have, a budget that's kind of fluctuating, especially if you're on a commission like a realtor. Your budget definitely is very fluid. So the nice thing about pool service and something that I don't think a lot of us think about is how nice it is to, number one, be your own boss, set your own hours, have your own workload, but have that steady amount of income that's pretty much guaranteed month to month. What that means, of course, is that you can utilize this income to do other things like invest and expand your business that other businesses don't have that luxury of having. So I want you to keep that in mind, that this industry is kind of a blessing to have those weekly service accounts that you have and having that fixed income every year that a lot of industries don't have. A lot of pool pros, I don't think, aren't utilizing the time that's allowed in the business effectively in a lot of cases. A lot of us overload our schedule because we think, we just need to put more and more accounts on to make more and more money. And we don't realize that that's kind of counterproductive of your business. Terry Arco just said recently in the podcast that a lot of us are always rushing around trying to get things done and, leads to mistakes and problems. And I think that's true, that we haven't really developed this attitude that enough is enough, I guess to say. And it's one of those things where it is tough as a business owner to say enough is enough. You always want to get that lead or take that job. So I talk a lot about in my other podcast about refining your business model so that you're only doing specific categories of things and you're not overloading yourself. For instance, if you're already established with 70 or 80 service accounts, there really isn't any reason for you to go out there and do a green pool cleanup. I don't see any logical reason to do it. You're already established, and there's nothing to gain from that except a headache of doing a green pool cleanup. So at some point, you have to stop doing that kind of service and just let that one go. Also, I think it's a good idea sometimes to outsource some repairs. It may not be worth your time and effort, and truthfully, it may be more trouble than it's worth in some cases. And so refining your business to where you're doing 1 or 3 categories of items. In-N-Out Burger is really successful here on the West Coast because they only have, I guess, 3 menu items, maybe 4. They have burgers, fries, shakes, and soft drinks. You can add milk and hot chocolate, I guess. But they don't have anything beyond that, and they're really successful because they have a really narrow category of service that they provide. And they're also effective at controlling costs because they're only doing 1 line of service, which is beef. This is kind of a good model for business, and that's why they're so successful. And it's something that you can model your business after as well. If your service accounts, weekly service, are bringing in a good amount of money, then that should be your primary focus. If you get a call for a green pool cleanup, if they want to come on the service after that, that's perfectly fine. You can probably do that green pool cleanup, take on that client. But if you have someone wanting a bid for a weekly service and someone wanting a bid for a green pool cleanup, and you're making all of your money, of course, off your weekly service, I would go to that weekly service bid and forget about that green pool cleanup bid, if that makes sense. So it's hard to do, and it's something that takes practice and mental training, not to take on more work than you can fit into your schedule. Another benefit, of course, of pool service is that your weekly schedule allows you to go to events that a regular 9-to-5 job may not allow you to do. For instance, if your kids have a Little League practice every Thursday at 3 o'clock, you could probably be there every week because you can schedule your route to allow that. If you have a parent conference meeting sometime, like on a Friday, you can easily schedule that as well. If you wanted to take a 3-day weekend, you can easily schedule that as well. If you wanted to work just 4 days a week and be off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, you can do that as well with your schedule. You have a lot of flexibility that you can utilize in your schedule once you're established, of course. Now, this is all established businesses, and when you're up and coming and trying to get established, you're going to be working a lot more, so that's a given. It's not something that you want to pass on green pool cleanups or these things that I'm talking about here. That's when you're established and you're fine-tuning your business. You can also fine-tune your business by dropping accounts that give you a serious headache. These are the pools that you don't look forward to doing. Maybe you get to that pool and you spend half an hour with the leaf rake on the surface because there's so much debris in there from the tree. So once you're established, that pool should not be on your route anymore. Leave that for someone who's starting their business and wanting accounts. When you're established, you want pools where you walk back there and it's all cement. It looks like you already cleaned the pool the day before. Those are the accounts you want to focus on. And you want to utilize the 1-for-1 rule, which is pretty well established. I'd like to think that I came up with it, but I'm sure it's been around much longer than I've been doing podcasts. But once you get a good account that's established after they pay you for a month or two, and you're going to keep that account, and it's something that is kind of those accounts where you have to try to find things to do at the pool, to spend time there. Then the account where you're dreading going there, or the customer is a problem, or they're always late with their payment, a month late, then you just kindly tell that customer that you're consolidating your business, and unfortunately you have to let go of some accounts, and their account was one of them, and you could either recommend someone to them if you would like to, or you could just let them find someone on their own, and then you have that account that replaces that income. So there's no loss. It's a win-win. You save time on your route. You have a nice account. You can also consolidate your accounts by making the route tighter. So when you get another pool next to a pool that's close to all your accounts, one of the outlying pools that maybe takes 10 minutes to drive to, you drop that account. And basically, you're fine-tuning your business at this point. You can also expand to bring on an employee. that adds a whole nother layer to your business, a layer of liability, a layer of maybe headaches, and it may be a good thing to consider bringing on someone to take some pools on, and you build your account, you build your business to get bigger and grow and scale your business. So there is a scaling aspect of this as well when you start to bring on employees, and this is something that a lot of businesses can't do out there. I mean, if you have a restaurant and you wanted to scale that, you would get another location, but then of course you have rent to pay and you have to, pay utilities and build that goodwill in that area, which is not easy to do. But with pool service, you already have all those accounts. You have 80 or 90 accounts. You bring an employee on. Yes, there is some customers may push back, and this happens a lot when you bring an employee on. They'll be like, well, I like you doing my pool. I like the way you do the pool. I don't want this person back here. I want you to do the pool. And so you kindly tell the customer, well, just give, James a month. See how you like him. I trained him. He's going to do the pool exactly if I was there. If there's a problem, I'll be there. The reason why I have an employee now is because I'm just a little bit overloaded with accounts, and this allows me to go out and troubleshoot things. So for instance, if you do have a problem, I can be out there readily because I'm freed up from doing, a lot of different things, and I have employees doing it now, or an employee doing it now. And so this is going to make my business better and more attentive, and just give them a chance. Now, if worst case scenario, they just still want you to do it, you can arrange it so you're doing that pool. But in most cases, after a month, they'll be fine with the person, and they'll understand that you're doing it because you want to stay in business and you're expanding. And it's one of those things where people, if you explain it correctly, they'll understand why you're bringing on an employee, and they'll understand that this is going to make your business better in a lot of ways. And of course, you can, in most areas, you can bring them on as a regular W-2 employee. Some areas you can bring them on as a 1099 employee, but that's a whole nother podcast. And, this is one way to scale your business. And I think it's a smart thing to do at some point if you wanted to get bigger and you wanted to work the same amount of hours basically, but have more income. And again, you can't do this readily in a lot of businesses, except maybe some service businesses, as I mentioned, that have this kind of a weekly service or monthly service client. I also talk about expanding into something else with your free time. You can stay a single poler and have 70 accounts that you do Monday through Thursday, and you can do other things with your free time. You can even scale down a little bit if you wanted to do less accounts, to go into another industry. So maybe you want to sell real estate part-time. Maybe you want to start investing in real estate and have rental properties. This gives you a lot of time to go out there when they're remodeling or when they're doing something on the property or when you're dealing with something. The extra time is handy and you have another source of income. I know a pool guy here locally that has coin laundries. That's what he likes to buy. I think he has 3 of them now. And he likes going in there, collecting the money, making sure everything's working correctly. And this is pretty, it's not quite passive income because you're still maintaining the business, but these coin laundries generate a lot of income for him. And he has a smaller route and he has these coin laundries on the side. So he has 2 businesses basically. And that's not a bad model. You can do something like that. I wouldn't recommend having a pool service and a restaurant. That probably wouldn't work too well. They're just 2 businesses that need a lot of focus. But there are other businesses like rental properties, like coin laundry. Back in the day when I first started, there were a lot of payphone routes out there. You can buy payphone routes. People are like, what are payphones? But they're on every corner basically, and you would buy these routes and you would maintain them and get the coins. So there are things like that out there as well, like vending machine routes. They're still available. So you can do that if you wanted to maybe try to expand your income because you don't want to bring on an employee. You just want to keep yourself small. That's also a possibility. You can also jump into the commercial pool sector where you're doing apartment complexes, HOAs, motels. There's really good money in that. It does take more involvement and time, so you may have to taper down your residential pool accounts to go into the commercial account arena, but you get more money. It's sometimes easier in some respects because once you become an expert at it, and in some cases with just a small amount of commercial accounts, you can have just as much income as you're doing with residential accounts, but working a lot less, giving you even more free time. So that's also a possibility. I think really you have to sit down and look at your business model and kind of figure out if you're overloading yourself, if you're not really maximizing your time out there, what actually makes you the money. I spent a lot of time in my podcast talking about focusing on what makes you the money, because that's kind of important. If you're an HVAC service person and going out there to, reset the heater or thermostat and you charge $95, if that takes a job away where you can make 3 or 4 times that, you may want to push that back and not be as active doing those small little calls. You may have to send someone out there to do that except yourself. So different things like that also apply to pool service. If you're doing commercial accounts, not a bad idea to have a helper or train someone that could do them when you're not there. And then I think the focus on your time is also something that you really need to sit down and look at. Can you go to 4 days a week? Would that free you up to have an extra day to do maybe some things to catch up on the route, or do some other services and make money, or just have that day free if you need it? These are all things that you can really do. And I think a lot of us don't sit down and think about this. We're just out there working, we're getting accounts, we're doing work, and we really don't sit down to think about how we can fine tune everything to really utilize what pool service is, which is a really flexible service business where you can have set income and you can have set hours and you can have days off, time off, you can move things around. And a lot of us don't utilize that. And I understand, we really get set in things. I don't want to move pools to a different day a lot of times. I like everything the way it is. And we're kind of creatures of habit because we're in routines and we do the same pools over and over again, week to week. And it's easy to fall into that routine mentality where, well, this is how it is and I can't change it. But sometimes you can. And I think if you look at it and you really analyze everything, you can make some positive changes to really maximize your time, maximize your income, and really maximize your abilities in other areas, whether it's bringing on an employee and expanding your business to 3 or 4 service trucks, or going to a different industry with your free time and still having that set income that the pool service company that you run provides. I think the bottom line is you don't want to treat your pool service business like a 9-to-5 job, because then there's no difference than if you're working for somebody. And I think that is an attitude adjustment. A lot of times we just have to look at things clearly and see this is a great industry. There's a lot of benefits that I'm not utilizing, and I'm going to start utilizing those benefits going forward. If you're looking for other podcasts, you can find those on my website at swimmingpoollearning.com. On the banner, click on the podcast icon. There'll be a drop-down menu of other podcasts for you there. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a good rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.